Hello, I'm Toycat, and welcome back to the video. Today we're talking about the sword in Minecraft. The sword in Minecraft is an item that's going to be especially relevant in the future because of all the new PvP stuff coming to Minecraft. However, a lot of people are responding to these updates and saying, it's cool that there is PvP stuff, but I don't really care. I don't intend to fight players, and even when I play single player Minecraft, I don't really fight things. Why do I need the sword? And today's video is going to be focusing around that because there are surprisingly many uses for the sword in Minecraft, even though its main purpose is to hit stuff you don't really like. Today I'm going to be talking about the things you can do with the sword that don't involve hurting things. So hopefully you'll do enjoy today's little pacifist guide to the sword. If you do like it, like the video and let me know, because it helps out the channel a lot. Let us know you do like it, but also let us know you do like these kind of non-PvP focused videos, because I know most of you do want to improve your skills and fight people better, but you know, there are also people out there that want to keep on playing survival and might not even want to hurt, you know, even an innocent little creeper or spider or anything. But yeah, for those sorts of people, that's where today's video is for, and let's get straight into it, shall we? And let's talk about the immediate one that probably comes to most of your minds when you hear use for the sword that doesn't involve hurting people, and that is of course the blocking thing. So blocking is using the alternate trigger, so the left trigger for most people, and it's basically something that's only available on the console edition right now, and is going to be phased out with the next major update, you know, 1.9, so this is something you can only expect to use for the next 6 months. However, it is incredibly handy, because if something's attacking you and you can't avoid it, for instance a skeleton, if you can time this just right, you can reduce their damage by 50%, which means this is basically a mega set of armor. Combine that with an actual set of armor, like you see here, and you can reduce your damage by massive amounts, and basically not take any, as long as you can block at the right time. Just bear in mind, this is a feature that's going to stop existing soon, but it is the first one here. It's the one that comes to everyone's minds, and it's useful for the second feature here, because using blocking can actually slow you down, and slowing yourself down might not seem too important, but it's actually quite useful, because the only other way is crouching, and even then, you don't really slow down, you just kind of, you know, you move at this weird pace, but when you're blocking, you kind of move at this very kind of slow walk pace. Your legs actually go slower too, and the reason this is useful is because it's useful to kind of just, you know, sneak towards people without them thinking you're actually going at any real pace, because again, your legs are moving so slow, you're just kind of moving like way faster than your legs should actually allow, and the reason this is useful is so you can kind of sneak towards people. And the actual kind of fun fact about this is it means you can actually move a lot slower than you otherwise can. So if you combine this with every other single slowness factor in the game, so you get yourself a slash potion of slowness, let's do that right now, you slash potion of slowness yourself, you then crouch, you then go into soul sand, which has ice underneath it, which makes you go even slower, and then you go into cobwebs on top of all of that, while using your sword to actually make you go 50% slower, once we actually sink into it, like you can see right there. This is the slowest you can move in the game. You move at one full block every, it's something like 25-30 seconds, and it means that you basically look like you're not moving. Like, if anyone is actually paying attention, you don't look like you're moving, but you make the tiniest steps towards them, and maybe that's useful. You might think, Toycat, that's not useful to me. It's going to be really hard for me to get out there. But you might think, Toycat, that's not useful to me. I don't want to go slow. That's just, you know, not a thing that is desirable to me. When I'm playing single player, slowing myself down isn't going to confuse anyone. So if that is the case, then maybe the third use is for you, because when it comes to wooden swords, there actually is quite a bit of use when it comes to utility, because if you craft them, I don't have a, okay, there's a crafting table just over there. Basically, when it comes to wooden swords, I'll craft a few just to show you. What you can actually do is you can craft yourself one, so let's grab a wooden sword right here, and you can use it as fuel for a furnace. So if you have sticks and you have wood, and for some reason you want to send a message about swords in your world, you can actually use them as furnace fuel. So if you have a bunch of wooden swords just lying around, you're like, you know what, I want to get rid of these, but I want to do it in style and actually get use out of them, you can use it to smelt your stuff. In this case, it can feed people. So yeah, you can literally turn tools of war into tools of peace if you want to in this way, and maybe that's something you find desirable. But yeah, you do have to restock it every single time, but still, we just got to cook pork chop, and all we had to do was put a wood sword in there. So yeah, pro tip for Minecraft, if you want to smelt stuff and you have nothing else on you, a wooden sword will work, and if you want to craft it specifically for that, I think it's a good anti-war message to have in your world. But yeah, just in case that's also not quite good enough for you, here's the fourth, you know, non-violent use for swords, and this is perhaps one of the most useful ones, because it sounds really weird, but it does actually make sense. So, yeah, the fourth use here is giving swords to mobs. So, giving a wooden sword to a zombie doesn't make too much sense, giving it to a wither skeleton doesn't make too much sense, giving it to most mobs doesn't make sense, but if you give a wooden sword to a skeleton, so bear in mind they mostly won't accept them unless you're playing on hard, or if you have been in the area for a while and you've increased the regional difficulty. But yeah, basically, if you actually are playing on hard, or you've been in the area for a really long time, one thing I recommend when you find a skeleton is to give it swords. And the reason you want to give it a sword is because you can basically turn a skeleton into a zombie. And you might think, isn't that a bit weird to do? But yeah, the thing about skeletons is they're really annoying and they can always hit you. That's One of their weird things, like if you charge towards them directly, they're going to get at least an arrow on you, probably 2, perhaps even 3, 4, 5, and that's a lot of damage to just take. That's a lot of, armor wear to take. You don't want to do any of that. So if you give them a sword, like I've done here, it basically turns them into a zombie, which if we can actually do this correctly, which I can't at all, you can see, okay, there we go, there you go. As you can see right here, we're actually not able to be hit by the skeleton, even though, if we had a bow, he'd be hitting us constantly. If he's got a sword, he's a zombie, and therefore can't hit us at all. So let's actually get out there like that. Boom. He's actually a zombie right now, and that's something that's pretty cool. But the second give it to skeletons, and you can kind of neuter them, like giving even though a skeleton will take a wooden sword over its bow for some bizarre reason, even though the wooden sword does just I think it's slightly less damage in fact, and even though having a wooden sword means it can't attack from range, it will still accept it. But even if that's not good enough and you're like, you know what, I can deal with skeletons well enough, one thing you might find useful is you can actually give skeletons or zombies, you can give them a better sword. So for instance, we'll give it our diamond sword right there, if it picks it up, which it should do. There you go. You give it a diamond sword, and now it's going to be really dangerous stuff. People, bear in mind, I've got lots of armor right now. Look how much damage he's going to do to me, if he cares. He doesn't care. Look, there you go. There we go. He does 2 damage, 2.5 damage, which is pretty good considering I'm wearing diamond armor. So yeah, pro tip right there. You can actually, give it to skeletons to turn them into zombies, or you can give it to mobs to make them really dangerous to kind of set a trap for other people. So yeah, it's non-violent technically. You're just arming the guys doing the damage, which is does that count as pacifist? I don't know. You be the judge. But either way, yeah, neuter skeletons, which means there's a whole bunch of cool uses for it. By the way, if you're gonna actually do this in a real world environment, what I recommend doing is getting the skeleton to see you, then it'll follow you, go around a corner, drop a sword round the corner. So if we drop one there, for instance, a wooden sword preferably, drop one round the corner, and then when he gets to you, he has to pick up the sword, and guess what? By that point, you can be at range, and you can turn the tables on him, and you can fire an arrow at him. I think it's pretty cool, and it's the 4th little pacifist use for the sword. So the final one here, which requires us actually picking that sword back up, is actually to use it as a breaking tool. So the thing about the sword is it's not the best tool to break any block. The ideal tool for every single block is either an axe, either a pickaxe, either a shovel, or either shears. But in some situations, it's actually the second best tool, or it's just as good as the best tool. So for instance, here are the blocks that are actually broken faster by a sword than by a fist. And as you can see right here, we've got the leaves, which are better broken by shears, the pumpkin, better broken by an axe, the cobwebs, better broken by shears, the melons, better broken by an axe, the vines, better broken by shears, and then finally, we've got the cocoa plants, better broken by an axe. Even though the diamond sword isn't quite as good as the best tool, except in the case of the cobwebs, it's still one of the really cool things that you can actually do, where you can decide, if I'm breaking a lot of these things, if you're in a jungle, which I guess is, or if you're in a jungle, or if you're in an abandoned mine shaft and you don't want to do stuff, you might think, okay, if I'm not attacking anything, I don't need the sword. But because if you're gonna have a mix of these stuff, you can use it as a replacement for both an axe and shears if you're fighting lots of this stuff. So if you want to break melons faster, you can do it with a sword. Want to break pumpkins faster or jack-o'-lanterns, do it with a sword. Same goes for cobwebs, as I'm sure you'll know. Same goes for leaves. Same goes for vines, and same goes for cocoa beans. So yeah, if you're in a weird jungle situation where you need to break lots of cocoa beans, lots of vines, and lots of leaves, and you want to do it fastest, and you only want to use one inventory slot, then the sword is there for you. So yeah, this is my non-violent uses for the sword. Realistically, I'm sure you will get the point that there isn't too much use for it, but I really do think that giving mobs your stuff is pretty handy. I think being slow actually does have some advantages, and I think when it comes to breaking blocks, there is going to be some use cases where you just want to use the sword because, again, it gives you a little bit of protection if you want to use it that way. The fact that it can do all of this stuff at once means that the sword isn't quite the violent tool you might think it is, and if you have a non-violent world, maybe you shouldn't ban swords. Maybe you should say swords are banned for hitting people, but if you want to break cocoa beans with them, that's fine too. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you did all enjoy today's video, giving you like a non-violent guide to something that everyone probably thought was violent. And yeah, if you liked the non-PvP content, let me know if a like, share a video if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here. I make videos like this one, giving you Minecraft tips and other video game tips every single day on my channel. And if subscribed, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you all very much for watching. My voice has been pretty bad today, so I hope that hasn't affected your experience too much. And yeah, let me know in the comments with words and stuff what you thought of the video. But with that said, thank you all very much for watching, and goodbye.